Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the country and around the world, and what time it is, whether you're watching it on replay or watching it live. We've already got a few people join up. Paul Dardo, greetings from snowy Austin. I did put him on earlier on the chat as well, but it's not snowing here. Weirdly enough, it's in Dallas. It's cold, but it's not snowing, so that's pretty good. And David Cornelius, I'm pretty sure the default setting for Oregon is snowy. So I'm not even going to ask. Yasu Sakis, thank you for joining us from Greece. Very good to hear from you. And Francis, as ever, from Wilton. Good, we are on tonight. We go critical as to blackouts tomorrow with this net zero madness in the UK. Oh, dear, that's awful. I'm pleased to be in Dallas, and it's good. Cold, no solar, no wind. Oh well, that sounds horrible. Today we've got a packed webinar, all sorts of things happening. Hello, JP. MVP is in Lewisburg, in West Virginia. Ron in Washington. Boian is going to be joining me a little bit later. He's my special guest today. We've already checked and we know we can get there. So very happy that Boian's turning up. Lots of things happening. Austria, oh dear, Germany, and the sunny Isles Beach. Well, that's just mean, isn't it? Sunny Isles Beach. I was going to Florida soon. Yes, thank you. To Sakis as well. To Pika. We've got a lot of people joining today. So what are we going to be talking about today? Today we are talking about gadgets, gizmos, and stuff you can plug into your computer and stuff you can connect to in general. Rick says, tell us about your Delphi looking helmet. That's this one here. Actually, this was a gift from Jim McKeith. He bought it for me a few years back, and if you've watched videos of us, we did sword fighting, because up there as well, let me see if I can point to it. There you go. That's actually a Roman sword as well. So a kind of Spartan style sword, I suppose, as well. I've got all sorts of things. I've got like a spear up there, and in the distance here, I've actually got a genuine samurai sword as well. I did say I'd add things as I went along. So if you keep watching the webinars, I'm going to move up on a few things in the background. If you keep your eyes open, you're going to be seeing all sorts of weird stuff turn up. Hola, Javier. Glad you could join us from Mexico. San Carlos. Hi, Terry. Ciao to Muzio from Italy. And unfortunately, I can't speak any Croatian or Zagreb dialect, shall we say. But Helios, good evening to you as well. And Alfonso, also from Italy. Well, there's actually quite a few people joining us from Italy. So I will keep putting those hellos up whilst I can. I'm always multitasking. Producer Martha has deserted me today. Is she gone? Yes, she's not around. There's only Boian. So today we're going to be doing a few slides and a kind of show and tell of the slides first. Then I'm going to do a quick demo and show you some of these devices. So the kind of things we're talking about today are things like this. Now, you can see based on the size of my fingers, and I've got reasonably sized hands. I'm not massive or anything. That's a fairly small device. And this is an Internet of Things device, or an IoT device. And it's pretty cool, actually. If you look at these, this is from a company called M5 Stack, and I'll mention those in the slides. But there's that little device. And on the back, I don't know whether it'll focus. I'm sure it won't. Let me get it the right way. All of these devices from M5 Stack, it's not going to focus. All of these devices from M5 Stack have a colored diagram on the back, because you can wire it up to all sorts of things. It's got a USB-C port, and then some ports here for relays. It's got all sorts of crazy stuff that it can do. It does say on the cover, and I'm going to have to take my glasses off so I can see properly. And it's ESP32 Pico, and it's got this is a matrix LED screen. So this is the kind of thing I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about what you can do with them and where you can get them. and I'm going to connect this one up, and we're going to write a Delphi program that will talk to it as well, so that you get some exciting stuff happen. We also have another device, which unfortunately, hello, Alan, in Warwick. I used to live in Warwick. I used to live down Castle Street, if you know where that is. I lived there for a long time, right opposite the castle. If you know where the pub is there, I live next door to the pub. So there you go. And Patrick says, hello, hackers. Yeah, yes. Yes, this is the problem when you connect things to the internet, people do things with them. And here's another one. This is another device. This is my most interesting device. Now, this one is so new that actually it's very difficult to get it to work. And this is called an M5 stack paper S3. It even says it on the device. What this is, and this is really, really exciting, this device, is ESP32, which is the chip you find in a lot of these things. And it contains Wi-Fi and it contains relays. But more importantly, more excitingly, it has a paper type display. So this is e-ink, and as you can see here, it's not powered up. The battery is completely flat, but that display will stay showing whatever it last showed. Now, with this particular device, you can take this part off, this little clip here, or you can mount it into a device or something like that, and then you can write your programs to send things to this display. And you can do that with Delphi. You do need an intermediary program, and Boian's here. We're going to talk about that with Boian later, because he has a product called Visuino, which makes it very easy. I'm going to show you Arduino, which is the kind of thing that comes with these Arduino devices. And Alpha says, I do know where it is. Pubs are my thing. I loved Warwick, and I'm a Brit, so I live in Dallas now. No pubs. They have fake pubs, not the same. And Patrick says, hi, and thank you for mentioning the Delphi Summit last week. And rather worryingly, I can't wait to meet you. That's good. Oh, there we go. There's a QR code up there. We talked about the Delphi Summit before. It's happening in June. And it's happening in Amsterdam, just outside Amsterdam, actually, in a video game center, like a e-sports arena. It happened last year. Go to that site, look at the video. You'll see me there saying, if I use Delphi, in a minute, I'm going to ask you the question. If you use Delphi, put your hand up, and I do that, and everybody in the arena puts a hand up. Absolutely amazing. Brilliant, brilliant summit. We are doing what we can to support that this year. We want to make this the biggest Delphi event in Europe this year. There are ones that are very big in Brazil. I'll be going to those ones this year as well. I'm getting around a lot, I think. But go to the Delphi Summit. If you can make it, if you live in Europe and you can make it, it's absolutely worth making the effort to get there, because I'll be there. I'll say hello to absolutely everybody I can. I'll be there for both days, and come and have a chat. Let's talk about Delphi, and you'll meet a few other people. Marco Cantu is going. I'll be going. I'm not sure if Jim McKeith will be going this year, but basically, if you ever wanted to meet someone from the Delphi area, there's an MVP or something like that, they'll be at the Delphi Summit. So yeah, good. Thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate that, and I will see you. So just to go back to this, so these devices are extraordinary, and they are all quite interesting in what they can do. But not content with that, I'm going to show you one of them working in a moment. There are other devices, like, for example, this kit. Now, this is a kit that comes from a company called Adept. And this, I finally found it, is my sword fighting robot. I haven't assembled it yet because it takes hours to put together, and I lost it for the longest time. I moved house 6 months ago, and in the process, I put this somewhere safe where it wouldn't get broken, and in the process, I lost it. But you can see on there a board. The board has got an LED on. It's got some relays and things like that. Again, same kind of devices that you see out there. We've got those. We've also got, sitting in the background down here, this is a fingerprint scanner. Now, I worked for many years working with these devices, but that's a biometric fingerprint scanner time clock. And that one there is a proximity time clock. So, you go up with these little tags and you can clock in and out with the proximity tags. Over here behind me to this side here, you'll see, my image is mirrored, so that's why I look a bit weird. That is a hand scanner. So you put your hand on the device and it recognizes your hand. It takes measurements of your bones. And so you can scan it wearing gloves. If you are, say, a bricklayer, for example, you tend not to have very good fingerprints. And so a fingerprint scanner won't work. But this device here will scan the hand topology, even if you're wearing gloves. It's used very widely in the food preparation industry. The reason is that platen that you see there where you put your hand on has got embedded antiviral properties. But not only that, because the people can wear their protective gloves, the food handling gloves, they can go up to this device and scan their hand in biometrically, and it will recognize them. There is face technology, recognition technology, and things like that as well that you can use. But that hand scanner has been around for a long time. Very, very useful. Somebody said, well, what happens, because it's set up for your right hand, what happens if you lose your right hand? If you have an accident or you lose a finger, you can turn your left hand upside down. And now if you see, it is a mirror image and it will actually work on that device as well. So lots and lots of devices out there. All of them work with with Delphi. Most of them have the SDK of some type or other, but these devices, these S3, the e-ink device I showed you, and this one here, this Atom Matrix, I've got lots of others, but these are just the two I'm showing at the moment, don't have that. You talk to them across the internet or you talk to them in other ways as well. These have little relays in, and you can make them open and close doors. They can temperature sense. They have gyroscopes on them. They have pressure sensors. You can wire these things up and do quite amazing things. And you cannot, I mean, see how small it is? It's ridiculous. So let us go and take a look at a few things. So what I'm going to do, I mentioned this last time. I'm going to mention it again. I won't be able to see your questions right now. So don't worry if I don't spot your questions when you're asking a question. I'll stop after the slides and I will answer your questions. We'll be here for as long as it takes, and Boian's coming on later as well as a guest as well. So I do want Boian to also have a fair crack of the whip and talk about a few things. So let me get my slideshow ready. And let me share my screen, which is not as easy as you would think with this technology. But here we go. And I'm going to say share. And then I'm going to hide myself as well, because I don't think you need to hear me, but you don't need to see me. So welcome to the webinar. I'm very happy to do this one because this is one of my favorite little, what's the word I'm looking for? Talks. I like the devices. So today's webinar, part of the 30 for 30 webinars, because this year it is Delphi's 30th anniversary of the first release of Delphi. And we're doing 30 webinars. Yes, I have been told I'm a little bit crazy for doing that, but I'm doing 2 a week. Every Tuesday at this time and every Friday at this time, we'll have a webinar. I'll put the website up later, but if you go to that website and register there, or if you have an email that says click on the register, click on that link, please. And it'll take you there and you can register. We won't spam you and things like that. If we're asking for details, we will say, hey, you can opt in and opt out. But whatever you do, make sure you come. Today's webinar is called Gadgets, Gizmos, and Cool Connected IoT Stuff You Can Make. And that picture shows a little selection of them. The top left-hand device is from a company called ZK. They do, biometric scanners like hand scanners. They do proximity scanners, as I mentioned, and palm scanners. So you hold your hand up to the device and it scans your palm from a distance. They also do temperature readers. If during COVID you ever ended up having to have your temperature read before you could go into a building. It was probably one made by ZK. On the bottom left and on the bottom right, you'll see that A5 atom matrix, which is the one I just held up. And as you can see, it can do all sorts of colors. Pretty impressive stuff. And then in the middle, there's a bar graph and a chart on the e-ink device, which is a paper S3 device from M5 Stack. But don't worry, I'll have all your links for these in a little bit. And I'm going to show you how they work as well, how we talk to them. You hopefully know who I am, but if you don't know who I am, my name is Ian Barker, and I'm the Embarcadero Developer Advocate. It's my job to show you the best of what the product can do and to listen to you and give you feedback, and you give me feedback on various things about what we do, everything to do with Embarcadero, and also Idera. We're part of Idera, so you'll see me pop up on things like Ultra Edit and a few other those companies as well. But primarily, I Embarcadero. You can email me, and please do, at ian.barker@embarcadero.com. Anything to do with Delphi, please feel free to email me. It's a lot of people apologize for bothering me. I am really busy. I get hundreds and hundreds of emails, but you know, I will answer, and I will, you know, do my best to give you an answer. I'm not there for technical support. It's not my job to support you. We have people that are much better than me at doing that, and you just go to the support page on our website, embarcadero.com, and fill out a support ticket, and you'll actually get a genius who answers your questions, not me, the dev advocate. If you want to know more about me, what I did and what I do and all that kind of thing, then go to about.me/Ian Barker. Today's webinar has been recorded, and the slides, link, replay, and the demo program will be available at this URL. If you go there now, it will just go to our product page, but in a couple of days, probably tomorrow sometime, that link will be live, and it will take you to the replay page of this on YouTube. Okay, so the thing about Rad Studio is it can handle all sorts of devices and services out of the box. It can do a lot, but it can't do everything. Built in are things like internet REST servers. REST is like basic language, the lingua franca of the internet nowadays. Most APIs are REST APIs, and they're talking JSON. And if you don't know what those are, Google them, JSON. And you can talk to GPS, motion sensors, gyroscopes, Bluetooth beacons, and Bluetooth connections, and devices like that. So if you've got a cell phone and you create a FireMonkey app, you can go in there and you can get your app to talk to those devices out of the box. You literally go to the tool palette, and there are some of the bits and bobs there. The sensor section has got the location sensor, so the GPS sensor. The motion sensor is to detect if it's moving. The orientation sensor is a gyroscope, so if you flip your device around, if you wanted to write a game like a balance game, or you just wanted to create a spirit level, you know, for measuring things, then you can do that with the orientation sensor and the motion sensors and location sensors. All of those can work together to sense the real world around it, built in to Rad Studio out the box. Same with the REST clients. It can connect to, you know, services and get APIs and talk to devices and you know across the internet using REST. But there are other ways of doing it as well, WebSockets and various other types of information. Bluetooth, nowadays, Bluetooth is a little bit shaky, to say the least, in general. As a technology, you'll find, I'm sure, if you've ever got into your car and tried to connect your Bluetooth, sometimes it works absolutely fine, and then for absolutely no reason whatsoever, the Bluetooth will stop working. And it's just the Bluetooth stack in general. However, if you can get it working, then you can use the Bluetooth LE and Bluetooth components in your apps and talk to low energy devices. So for example, I've got a bunch of keys and I have a little tag on there from a company called Shelly, and I can detect where my keys are with my Delphi app. Likewise, I can check for beacon devices. And these are little Bluetooth things that are stuck on walls in things like hotels or museums or art galleries. And as you walk up to them, people have written apps that detect those beacons and it will then show you on the app relevant information about, say, a painting or the skeleton of a dinosaur, or today's menu or something like that. It's pretty amazing what you can do with Rad Studio just out of the box, and that's, of course, not including things like printers, scanners, cameras, and biometric devices like fingerprint devices on your cell phone. You can do all those out of the box as well, and I absolutely, it's dead easy. I'll show you a demo app of that in a moment on my phone, but it's all built in and ready to use. But having said that, there's a whole lot more available via Get It and our tech partners. One of them today is going to be with me, and that's Boian Mitov. And if you look in the top right-hand corner there, you'll see a whole bunch of components from Mitov software. Boian is probably one of the smartest guys I know on the planet. He's very, sounds very normal and ordinary, but this guy is an absolute genius. I've got a lot of respect for Boian. I get on very well with him. Decent guy as well, wonderful human being, but also really smart. There isn't much he doesn't know about these devices. And we're going to talk about his product called Visuino, which is an IDE specifically for these devices. TMS software, one of my favorite third-party suppliers, have a thing called MQTT as well. Boian wanted to point out specifically that he had an MQTT component long before them. I'm sure he'll mention it when he comes on live, but Boian's got one as well. And also IP Works are very well respected in the industry, and you can get to them from Get It as well. They also have components for AMQP, MQTT, and STOMP, which is another protocol for talking across Internet of Things and talking devices. A STOMP server is very similar to MQTT. I'm just going to drink a bit of my water. If you go to our blogs website, you look up my name, and you'll find I wrote an article about STOMP a couple of years ago. So some other useful sites, we're going to go through a few of them. ECGC, who have the most complicated name for me to pronounce, but also have some great products. They support WebSockets, which is a great way of talking to devices, and MQTT and HTTPS and SSL for security and stuff like that. Very good company. Again, got a lot of respect for these people. They know exactly what they're doing, and based in Spain, I think. Great bunch of people. TMS software, I talked about the MQTT product already, but I'm going to show you that. I'm going to actually use that component today, just because I have it to hand. But the others work just as similarly. Pick your poison, as they say, and choose which ones you want. If you've got a TMS subscription, an all-access subscription, you've probably got this component already. But it's easy to use, as you know, as with anything. And also, if you want a whole tsunami of components for Internet of Things, for doing all sorts of things like visual processing, audio processing, controlling devices, and all that kind of stuff, go to mitov.com. Boian Mitov is here today, so he'll tell us more about it. But go there and be absolutely wowed by all the hundreds of things he has, just everything you could ever want, digital signal processing and all sorts of things. And he's also got a product, and it's not often we show alternative IDEs to Rad Studio, but Visuino is one of them. And actually, we're going to show another IDE as well in a moment that isn't Rad Studio. But Visuino is a visual programming IDE for Arduino projects. Now, you remember I held up the sword fighting robot, and you saw the little PCB on there. That's an Arduino. And Visuino can program that. He can also program the M5 Atom, which is what I'm going to show you in a moment, that little device. And you know, we'll talk more about it when Boian is live. And also the daddy of them all, which is Arduino. If you go to arduino.cc, yes, that is their website. It is a .cc site. Go to there. Arduino is an open source board. It means anybody can make this board, and in fact, it's been very beneficial because there are a lot of manufacturers out there that make these kind of boards. Go there, you'll see all the many hundreds of things that you can do with these boards, and all of them you can talk to with Rad Studio. You know, using something like Boian software in the middle, or the Arduino IDE, but they all do some quite interesting things. Another site that's very good, which is based in the US, I think, is adafruit.com. They have all sorts of interesting bits that you can plug into your computers and turn things on and off, and temperature sensors and moisture sensors to check for whether your plants are being watered correctly. LED displays, so you can, you know, light up all sorts of weird disco lighting effects or whatever you want. And M5 Stack, who Adafruit and M5 Stack kind of have a big overlap. M5 Stack are the people that make a lot of these devices. They're based in China. However, I can tell you, I've bought several devices from them over the years, and I had absolutely zero problem with them. I'm not quite sure what the new restrictions are going to, how these are going to be affected by US restrictions that may be coming up. But I know that Adafruit are able to source those devices as well. So I can't really choose one or the other. I can tell you I use M5 Stack, and they ship within a week if you order your device. And another company, Shelly.com, who they've got a US branch, and I think they have a European branch as well. The Shelly do some very interesting devices that you can plug into your wiring in your house, and then you can control things like your power supply. You can detect how much ampage is being pulled. So if you wanted to know, I don't know, let's say you've got an extractor fan or something like that, and you want to see how much it's going to cost you to run that device, you can plug it into one of these devices and then write a Delphi program that will talk to it and display how many amps are being pulled by it, and so you can work out whether it's you know, economical or not. Because if obviously it's pulling, you know, 50 amps for 12 hours or something like that, then you're going to be using quite a lot of electricity. But really interesting. They've got relays built in. They've got a whole web server built in. They've got an app that comes with it you can connect to as well. I've used it in various ways, but I like them. I like their kit. That's not the only thing they do. They do all sorts of others, like pumps and stuff like that as well, I think. But interesting. And the fingerprint scanners and the face scanners and the hand scanners type devices, you can go to zktechnology.com, where they are probably the biggest supplier I know of these kinds of devices. Some of them run Android, some of them run their own operating systems. They do have SDKs for Delphi. They are not that easy to use out of the box. You need to actually import a thing called a TLB and import it that way, but it's not difficult. If somebody needed to do it, I can tell them how to do it. It's very straightforward. And another company that sell you know, technology like this everywhere is aliexpress.com, and they are a big Chinese based, I think, market clearinghouse for all the many manufacturers that are based in China and Taiwan and all sorts of places like that. Great stuff. So there you go. So let's do a demo. So I'm going to close this for a second, and I'm going to just have a look at what questions we've had. Tell us a gadget about domotic with Zigbee on cooll. We are okay. I'm not really sure I understand what you're saying there, but what I think you're saying is, how is it connected? Okay, well, with most of these devices, they don't tend to have a direct connection that you plug into a computer. And so if you're writing a Delphi program, you're going to be doing a kind of offset type of connection, just the same as if you were with a web page. Really, you don't directly connect to a web server to display some web content or to download a file. You actually go across the internet, and that's the connection. So it's the same thing with these things. With Zigbee or MQTT, then these kind of connections are very easy to do, and there are lots of components out there to do that. I'm just going to turn that QR code off, because the demo in a moment is going to get in the way of that. What else have we got? The QR code is obstructing part of the slide. Yes, sorry about that, Javier. I did say I couldn't see it in the discussion. And hello, Ian from Portugal. For the Shelly devices, I use Home Assistant for that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all of these devices you can plug into things like Alexa and a few other things, and then Shelly actually have quite a nice little intermediate app as well. And Curmudgeon, I love the name, says most Shelly devices are not certified for use in North America. Actually, they have an American website, and if you go there, they only list the devices that are certified for use in North America. So it actually will say, are you in America? And if you say yes, it will actually swap you to the US site, and then it will only show you devices. Same way as if you had Brazilian devices, it would ask you about devices that are certified for use in Brazil and all the rest of it. So yeah, a bit of a problem. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a demo. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, can I turn my camera on? I think I can. Yes. Okay, so if I do, how can I do it? Yeah, okay. Looks like I can't do what I was hoping to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me just go back to here. No. There you go. That's how I do it. So what the reason I've come here for a moment is I just want to show you some of these devices and then talk about what we're going to do. So we have here this M5 Atom device. And I have over here, which I can just about get in camera, a USB-C plug. Okay. And what I do is if I plug this into this like this, you'll see the device light up. And so it's lit up at the moment, and it's an LED, and it's working. Now, how does that work? Well, if I now go back to just sharing my screen for a second, what we have in here is we have a device. In fact, I'm just going to unplug this for a second. So we have a product called the Arduino IDE. Okay. And what this allows you to do is write C code, and it is C, not C++, to talk to these devices. Now, it comes with a whole bunch of examples. So here are a whole load of different examples. So if I wanted to, if I go down to the M5 stack, I think is one of them. Yeah, I mean, I had a device before called an M5 Stick Plus, and I go in there and there are basics like how to make the display work, factory tests, which just shows some things. There's a couple of games that you can upload on there. If I just go to Flappy Bird for a second, it opens that. And there you can see a bunch of program code for the Flappy Bird. Okay. And it's C stuff. But why do we need this? Well, right now we're doing it the hard way, and that is Boian says actually the Arduino IDE use C++. Oh, does it? Okay, well, yeah, good. I don't care. I'm not going to use it. I'm using the examples, but yeah. So that's funny. Yeah, there you go. So I've chosen one of those examples, and what it is. Click the wrong button. So on my actual screen, here is my C program, my C++ program. And the way that these devices work is they're like your old-fashioned. I mean, you really are going back to the good old days where you've got a loop that gets executed. Okay, so there's a bit of setup when the device first starts up with the program. It sets up a few things, and in this case, it connects to an MQTT server, which is what we're going to talk about in a moment. And then what the MQTT server is, it's a kind of like a bridge where it's almost like an exchange for messages. So the device talks to the MQTT server, subscribes to a channel, and then I get my app to subscribe to the same channel. The device sends messages, and I pick them up on my app, and I will display them on my app. That all starts up in the setup part thing, and it sets up a callback. Meanwhile, there's a loop, and all the loop does is it just says, okay, well, if the last message was greater than 2000, then we just publish some information to a channel there. But by default, all it's doing is just looping around, and every time it gets a message, it prints out to the output window, to the serial port actually that it's connected to at the moment, the what it's received. So in this case, it's reasonably straightforward. I don't want to go into too many details because we're talking about Delphi at the moment, but it's the same principle with C++. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, let's just I think this is one of these clears the output. Let me see. There you go. So what I do is when I plug it in, my device in here, and you can just about see it in the window here, it powers up. Powers up, and then you start saying seeing these messages here. The reason is if I want to program it, if I click on here, it connects to my device and it connects to a specific port. And if I just hide myself temporarily, you'll see down here at the very bottom, it says compiling sketch. These programs are called sketches. These little C programs, it's compiling this together into a type of byte code or binary file actually that then gets shoved down to that device. So the device is here and it's being sent down via the Arduino IDE, and it's sending it to this device. Now you can see what it's doing because it's telling you. You'll see this device go weird for a second. And then after a couple of seconds, it will connect up. You see it go green, and then it will go blue. And the reason is that it is now connected and is actually talking to my MQTT server, the intermediate service. So it's connecting away, and what happens is if it works, it publishes this. Now this here is the output. This down at the bottom, the output from the device down this serial cable. So it's sending information back down the USB-C cable, which is plugged into my PC, so that I can basically do debugging. It's almost like a debugging cable. Okay, but what it's done is actually quite remarkable. It is actually set up a MQTT server on this tiny little device, and it's fully working. And the reason I know it's working is because you can see the messages arriving down here at the bottom of the screen, and it's chugging away. So what will it show? Well, it'll just keep counting up and counting up. Well, that's all well and good, but let's get Delphi to do something with it. So let's go into Delphi and pull up an example program. Okay. So I have here an app, and it's reasonably short. It's a FireMonkey app, and it's got a TMS component on there, but this could be Boian's component as well. Sorry, Boian, I forgot to use yours initially, as I told you. but it could be ECGCs. But I think Boian is probably the good one because was on live with us. And it's got an image list. That's for some buttons up here, so I could show these images. And actually, I chose some bitmaps, but I should have chosen the SVGs because we've enabled Skier in the project. So if I go to here and say Skier, that I enabled Skier just so it makes drawing a bit better. And what will happen is when the MQTT component connects, once it gets some packets back, it will actually show some information that's come down from the MQTT server. So should we run it and have a look at how it works? Oh, the only other things it's got is it's got this module I've shown you in previous demos as well. This is a class helper for the form, so it allows me to do things like, just so you know, it allows me to save the forms location and load the forms location. The reason for that is I am presenting on my screen in front of me, which is my main screen with all my notifications turned off and all the rest of it. And over here is my secondary screen, which is where the ID is loaded. And if I ran the app as it was, it would actually be on the wrong screen. So I want it to show on this screen. So that's what that does. There's other few little tricks in this app, which I'll show you in a moment, because you're going to like it, because I like to drop in a few tips and tricks whilst we're happening. So let's run this app, and it could be, you know, an iOS app, but it happens to be a Windows app. And what I thought I'd do is to make it look really cool is to have a sheet of glass type thing. So this is a slightly see-through app. And when I click on the Go button, what it will do is go up to the MQTT broker, which I'll tell you about in a moment, which is this server that sits on the internet. My little device that you can see down in the preview window, if you look down on the bottom right of the screen, is here. That's connected to that server. And then my app is going to do the same thing and connect to the server. And then we're going to try and talk to each other on there. And what I should get back are the things that that device is sending. So if I click on Go, it's connected, and now it's getting these devices. Now, how do we know they're actually from the device itself? Because if I go here and scroll down, there you can see message number 128 is turned up, and up here, 128. I'm actually making it insert the message, the newest message, in the top line so that you can always see it. So that is an MQTT server. So it's just one of the many ways that you can make things work. A couple of other things I do, I make it so like this. So if you had this as some kind of server and you wanted it to stick up here, you could make this be a topmost window stick at the top. And if you wanted to produce alerts or something like that, you could get some alerts come up and say that something's happened. But it's as simple as that. So that's all that's doing. Now, that's for this particular device that's using MQTT. There are other ways of doing it. Like I say before, there is a SDK for some of the other devices that you can just incorporate into your apps, and off you go. So simple as that. That's all it is. Now, whilst we're on the subject of cool things and what did I do, the way that I made this transparent, look a bit glassy, is I go down to the actual form itself, and there's an option that says transparency, and I say true. What that does is makes the whole app transparent. But I obviously want some of it to be not quite as transparent. So I dropped a T rectangle on there, which is what this is, a T rectangle here. And I make the opacity 40%. So it's 40% see-through. If I wanted to make it less see-through, I can say 0.7. And now when I run the app, in a moment, you'll see it's less transparent than it was before. You can also apply to this a bunch of, what's the word I'm looking for? Patterns. You could have a bitmap pattern or something like that. So you know that kind of crackly glass effect. You could emulate that in your apps if you wanted to, just by applying a pattern fill. The pattern fill would be in here. So let me just scroll up. On there, instead of saying gradient, you would say bitmap and then draw a bitmap on. And because you've got transparency, you would have a cool pattern there. So I could have a Delphi logo in the background or something like that. But again, all I did was just change this opacity to say, I think I chose 0.4 or 0.5, and that's it. And just to make it look aesthetically pleasing, I also did the top bar so that it wasn't quite as transparent, so you look like you've got a nice, slightly darker transparency. In fact, let's make that even more less transparent. Do actually need to click on the right window there for that to work. Top panel, there we go. Let's change the transparency of that to say 0.8. So it's hardly transparent at all. Boo. So cool, huh? But that's not the point about what we're doing. So the component here is the MQTT component. When I said before about the different types of devices, I'm not kidding. There are like Bluetooth devices. There's a biometric device, which is a biometric authentication device. The reason that's not shown is if I point over there and you see the hint turn up, the biometric device is only available on Android and iOS. Now, I actually have it loaded on my phone. I'm not sure if that will work or not. Let's try that for a second. Whether it will show up, I'm not sure. So I have my device, and if I do this, oh yeah, the screen is not going to show up very well. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, if I click on the button, that is what happens there. And then I put my finger on the fingerprint device, and you can't see it at all, can you? Yeah, I have to make that into a demo. I did this demo a little while ago just to see how it worked. Nah, it's not going to show up. Yeah, your biometric is successful. Anyway, another one of the devices built in that will work on that. So when you hit on biometric and say authenticate, that will trigger the biometric authentication in there. It could be, you could have GPS, so you could choose to track the GPS location of the device. All of these built in, very, very easy to do, not a problem whatsoever. Okay, so let's stop sharing for now and go back to just me. Right, so I think it's probably a good time to get my guest up. I'm going to unplug my MQTT server. By the way, the MQTT server I was using was actually the one from M5 Stack. So you connect to MQTT using that intermediate server that I mentioned about. And in my case, the one that I'm connecting to is let me just put it up. I'm just going to get the address. MQTT.m5stack.com. It's a free and open source server. There's a lot of them, isn't there? We saw your fingerprint. Will you cut it from the replay? Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny tip about my fingerprint. I have one of the most famous fingerprints in the world. And the reason is that I worked for a company where we were the first suppliers of USB fingerprint devices anywhere in Europe. And it was a company called Digital Persona, and they made a UIU device. And we needed a graphic for fingerprint detection. So they took a picture of my fingerprint, and they produced a graphic from it, and then it was ripped off. And so my forefinger, you'll find my forefinger fingerprint is on a lot of different people's documents. It's very odd. The minute I see it, I know it's mine. And it was just one of those things where people just borrow, a graphic without ever thinking. it didn't occur to us we should probably produce an unreal, a fake one. We actually, I'm talking like 2001, I think it was, maybe earlier than that. But I just happened to we used my fingerprint because I was the guy on the spot, and someone copied it, and it went out on the internet a lot. So my fingerprint is actually, that one is pretty well known. The others aren't, hopefully. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to get our guest on. Our guest today is, like I said before, I've got a lot of love for him. He is a very, very smart guy, and it is Boian Mitov from Mitov Software. Let me make him appear like so. There you go, Boian. How are you?
Hello, everyone. So far, so good. Hope everyone else is doing well as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is what it is. Paul says, "Cool, I should get fingerprint royalties forever." No, that's not how it works. Unfortunately, they stole my image and my fingerprint. It is what it is. So we briefly talked about Visuino. What I showed there was the Arduino IDE, which is, for those that don't know it, Arduinos are these kind of devices. This is, I'm not sure what model this is. Maybe you would know better than me, but this is one of those devices, and it's a single board computer. And Arduino actually have their own IDE. And the thing about that is that it's actually quite difficult to use. And I'm not saying this because we make our own IDE, but because it really is. And it doesn't help that C++ and C, I do it, but I don't do it very often. And, I'm used to doing it the Delphi way, dragging things on. Boian does a product called Visuino. And in fact, I've got a caption for that, I believe. Actually, if they go to where's my, I thought, well, do you know what? Let's do that. We'll put your thing down there, and we've got Mitov at the top. Sure, I had the Visuino one, but maybe I don't. Anyway, so you have a product called Visuino. Is it visuino.com? Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. There is EU site as well, but yes, Visuino.com and Visuino.eu are both.
Yeah, and the other thing to mention as well is, first of all, it's a really good idea, and maybe you'll be able to talk a bit more about it in a moment. But it's also the sheer number of components you have as well that you can use in Delphi. You support a thing called OpenWire, is that right? Do you want to just talk to us briefly?
That is correct, yeah.
What does OpenWire do then?
Yeah, I can talk about that. OpenWire is an open source project. I started it many years ago, close to 30 years ago. And the idea is very simple. I came up with the idea of allowing properties to connect to each other. So effectively, OpenWire was the first version of visual live binding per se. So it allows you to create properties as part of the components, and then allow those properties to connect and then exchange data between themselves. So that was the original idea, and eventually I extended to real visual live binding. And again, I created the first and the original visual live binding, and Embarcadero kind of apparently liked the idea.
Oh, did you rip it off?
I don't want to talk about that because
Okay.
it was interesting story, but that's not for the public to know.
Yeah.
But you got the idea.
Yeah. I got you. I understand. Yeah. I'm just gonna grab a screenshot whilst we're talking of
Sure.
Visuino, because I've got one somewhere here. Carry on. So yes, I think your stuff is really good. The amount of components you have is just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, they're in the hundreds.
Yeah, and they do all sorts of. Here's a screenshot. Let me just see if I can save this image. And yeah, there you go. I can probably put this as a thing called an overlay. So I'm just going to just 1 second, everybody. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, while you're doing that, everybody must know that Visuino is written in Delphi.
Completely.
So
I didn't know that.
completely.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
Yes.
this is Visuino Pro, and this is actually off your website. So I'm not sure whether it's a recent version, because I know you.
Yeah, it's not recent version. Unfortunately, Visuino is moving so fast that the website is not capable of keeping up with screenshots and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit dated version of Visuino on the screen.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I mean, it is pretty impressive stuff, and it's not just that though. The thing is that you've also got all these different components, as I mentioned, that they can install in the Delphi IDE, and then they can do digital signal processing. They can do image manipulation. They can do face detection. Is that right? I think.
That's mostly on the Delphi side. There is video and certain level of digital signal processing in Visuino as well, but it's not as mature as my Delphi stuff.
Right.
So I do have a lot of video and digital signal processing and computer vision in Delphi, but not that much yet in Visuino, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I mentioned components just because they're pretty good. And in fact, there's an IDE version as well that I can see there as well. Yeah, I mean, I like your stuff, and you know, as I said before, I've got all bits of different kit around my office because I'm a bit of a fan of these things, and I like playing around with them. So I've got these things like this Ellie Goo kit, which if anybody likes wiring things up and working out if they've accidentally made something, you know, is going to take over the world. This is the kit for it because it's got absolutely. I'm going to see if I can turn this up without dropping it on the floor. But just look at all the nonsense in it. It's got sensors of every type you could ever imagine. And these kits, I don't think people necessarily know, but you can do quite a lot with it. It's pressure sensors, heat sensors, sound sensors, like, you know, not just a microphone, but it can detect signals and stuff like that. Moisture sensor, so you can put this moisture sensor in your plants, and let's say it's, I don't know, out in the backyard, or even if it's in some holiday home or something like that, if you rent out property, you can detect it, and then you can turn a pump on and you know, water your plants and stuff. Whatever people think of, there is someone out there who's probably done an example project of it, because there's just absolutely everything you can imagine. I've seen, you know, amazing amounts of kit.
Somebody, by the way, is asking, I can answer the question if Visuino works with Arduino R4 Wi-Fi, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, which is this one, Thomas. I'm just going to not say his last name.
Thomas.
Schlager. Yeah. That's a great name. Does the answer is yes. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Yeah. Yes, it's supported.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing about you, is you're always on the cutting edge. I actually follow your site and learn about some of the new boards by going, oh, that's a great thing. And you always have these really cool little YouTube snippets as well of people that've got these projects and things like that. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Well, there's some guy, I forget what he did, but I see so many of them, but they just, however crazy these people are, they are going to produce a video about it, and I love it. I think Jim McKeith is, you know Jim very well as I do, and he's a very good friend of mine. I get on very well with Jim. Jim is the ultimate crazy professor. You know, he wants to wire up his brain and do all sorts of things. And him and I have talked a lot. We had one of those Tesla coils, you know, and we're electrocuting each other with the Tesla coils, and that's the guy, and he is into this stuff really big time as well. It's great stuff. It's wonderful. Ciao, Catania in Sicily. I know Catania. It's a nice place. And Doug Filtro says, in the vast ocean of software component players, it's always a pleasure to have them engage with us. Thank you. You know what? I want to mention something here, Boian, as well. Boian doesn't just, I mean, obviously we're talking about Visuino today and you know, his components and that. Boian's a tech partner, so, you know, we give him beta versions of things and stuff like that. But Boian also joins the webinars all the time as someone watching them, because I see Boian saying, "Hi, everybody from California." So, you know, you're an enthusiast as well, I think, of the stuff. Yeah, why not? Exactly, yeah. It's great stuff. And Patrick says that's a great starter kit. Yes, the Elegoo kit here. If you want to wire things up and play with them and waste hours of your life, that's the kit for you. Ziad, I know Ziad.
And by the way, thank you, Patrick, for basically filling up all of the information for the others and posting the links and stuff like that. He's been assisting in the webinar voluntarily so far.
He always does it. You know, we last year we had a coding boot camp, and it was 10 days, 8 hours a day, and Patrick was there all day, every day. Which is one of the reasons why last year we made him the Spirit of Delphi Award winner, because it was an easy choice. Everybody in the office, we talked about it, and we all went, of course it's going to be Patrick. You know, and we have to choose someone else this year. Sorry, Patrick. But hey, you know, but this is the only advice. Let me know when you get to be able to program these, Boian, because I tried loading an app on here with the IDE from Arduino IDE, and I'm so convoluting. Add this, you know, dependency and do that, and they also had a warning on the website saying, don't try and charge it using a QI charger because it'll explode. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I'm waiting for this to work, because this is a really cool device. You know, it was like $40 or something. I thought I'll buy that to have a play around with, but what can you do? Yeah. Okay, well, look, down on the bottom of the screen is Patrick has posted where Visuino is. And, you know, I definitely also want to thank you, Boian, for joining us so often and your stuff. If you want to know where it is, I'm going to put the QR code up in the top left-hand corner. Go to his website, that one up there. Just scan the code. It'll take you directly to there. If not, you can go to the Visuino site as well, which Patrick rather helpfully put along there to save me from making a fool of myself. And, you know, good stuff. Any final words from you, Boian, before I let everybody go?
Well, I really don't know. I mean, I just wish everybody has fun. And by the way, one interesting and unique thing about all of my components, and that includes Visuino, all of them, they have free versions. All of my components, the hundreds of them, including the MQTT, they're all free for personal use. And Visuino has also a free version. Of course, in the case of Visuino, the version is pared down compared to the commercial versions. In terms of the components, they're free for non-commercial purposes. On the visual components, there will be a small text that says that this is a free version. And of course, if you purchase that, will disappear. Other than that, they're fully functional.
I remember Jim mentioning before, he said how cost-effective your pricing was, and said you were crazy as well, because he said, you're not charging enough, which is funny.
Well, I have heard that, and again, I mean, that's the reason I have broken car that's in repair at the moment. I'm not driving Mercedes.
Well, you know, anything I can do to promote your stuff, because I have a lot of respect for you. You, like I say, you're one of these people where you're kind of, hey, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. Very laid back kind of guy, but you are incredibly smart, and I've got a lot of respect for you. You really are, you know, a smart guy, and you know your stuff, and I love your website. I love what you do, and Visuino is a great product as well. I should have used your MQTT product to do the demo. I didn't think of it. I just had the one that I had.
No worries. By the way, somebody is asking in the chat if there are video tutorials for Visuino, and there are hundreds of video tutorials both by me and other people. A lot of people are posting projects. Actually, almost every day when I wake up, I go on the internet and I see somebody posted, or maybe a couple of people posted new project made with Visuino. Visuino is enormously popular product, especially obviously the free version.
And I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one on LoRa radio as well, which is the other thing that I like as well. I like the LoRa radio. Someone's asking.
Well, I'm working on it on one of them right at the moment. I do support a lot of LoRa devices, but right at the moment I'm adding yet another 2 devices as we are speaking. That's my
God!
Another one of the LoRa devices.
Oh well, I'm going to have to talk to you about these things here. Hey, and someone's asking a question which is not kind of directly related to you, but they're asking about where can they learn how to use the IDE. If you go on the welcome page, so when you open the IDE, there's a welcome page, and there's a button or there's a tab on the right that says Learn. If they go there, that is a bunch of videos about how to use the IDE. And if they go to our YouTube site, and if you're watching on YouTube right now, click on like and subscribe. But that's very important. But if they go to the YouTube site and just search through the videos there, we've got whole streams of videos about how to use the IDE. It's not terribly difficult, Colin. So I know that's easy for me to say because I've been using it for years. But he's got a very long URL. Yeah, we're probably not going to go to that one. But yeah, Patrick says there's a bunch of videos. Yeah, just Google Arduino. You'll find plenty of YouTube videos about it. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Boian. And by the way, I just want to let everybody know as well. I emailed Boian this morning and said, "Hey, do you want to come on?" And he's like, "Yeah, why not?" Yeah, I get so many other people that go, "Oh, I need to prepare this. I need to have a think about it. And I have 400 emails from them before they turn up." And you're just like, "Sure, I'll turn up." That was it. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Boian. Okay. See you soon. All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye. So that's Boian Mitov. You really do, if you want to use his stuff, go to his website because honestly, it's so cost effective, low cost, I think is the word I'm looking for. And he's got these free versions, but look, support other developers. That's the way to do it. If you can afford to do it, you should always try and contribute, even if they're if they're not something you're going to use commercially, because we need to keep people going sometimes, and it's difficult in this day and age in this industry. So I hope that's fun. Javier says, "Oh, it has also has tutorials." Great, yes, it does. There's a lot of bits and bobs on there. There's just a whole bunch of things you could want to do about these things. Okay, so I think that's it. Just another plug before we go for the Delphi Summit. If you can go there and you feel inclined, you really should go there because it is going to be an incredible site, incredible event this year. We're bigging it up for a good reason. It's 30 years of Delphi this year on the 14th of February, and we've got some special guests. We're trying to organize some very special guests, but depends if they want to join in or not. But certainly there'll be a whole bunch of people on the 14th. But on the Delphi Summit, if you go to that site there, you can watch the video. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, watch the video from last year's. It will blow your mind. This is not just a good Delphi Summit. It's a good computing summit. It's held in a video games arena, or e-games arena. There's a computer museum there with lots of old computers. It's in Amsterdam, which is a cool laid-back city with weather that's pretty good. It's fairly temperate, easy to get to from most countries. Why would you not go? I'll be there. That might be a reason why you wouldn't go, but I'll be there, and I'll say hi to everybody, and we'll hang out and we'll talk about Delphi. And Marco Cantu will be there, and a few others as well. But anybody who's anybody will be there. Okay, I will see you again on Friday. at the same time. Rick says, thanks, guys. Another good one. Delphi on every desktop. Yes, good man. That's exactly what desktop and on cell phones as well. Mobile phones can do anything. But thanks, everyone. All the replays and the code will be up shortly. But for now, I'm going to say bye-bye. I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.